Hello, my name is Grant Ervin, and welcome to my presentation about the South China Sea conflict. I am currently a freshman at Bloomsburg University with an undecided major. I chose this topic because I saw Chinese and Philippine vessels colliding on social media, which we'll get into later, and I decided to look further into the conflict for my Asian politics class. What is the South China Sea conflict? The South China Sea conflict is a series of territorial disputes in the South China Sea between major countries like Vietnam, China, Taiwan, the Philippines, Malaysia, Brunei, and Indonesia. Vietnam, China, and the Philippines are probably the most involved in this conflict, and what they're fighting over are the Spratly and Paracel Islands, as well as Scarborough Shoal. It's useful to keep in mind that these islands are separate groups of islands, like separate archipelagos, not a singular island. The main thing we are going to see is countries fighting over fishing rights. 12% of global fishing as of 2015 is in the South China Sea, and as of the 1970s, there's an estimated 11 billion barrels of petroleum and other gas reserves in the South China Sea. 1/5 of cargo shipping lanes and global trade passes through the South China Sea as of 2016. History of the conflict. Small territorial disputes in the South China Sea have been happening since World War II. In World War II, islands were loosely held by countries involved like Indochina, the Philippines, and China, and were taken by Japan for a while until after World War II. The 11-dash line made by nationalist China in 1947 is a piece of legislature which claimed 90% of the South China Sea and claimed the Gulf of Tonkin. This 11-dash line is still claimed by Taiwan today. In the early 1950s, however, this 11-dash line was revised by the Communist China government after the Chinese Civil War to only have 9 dashes, and this was done to make newly formed Vietnam happy and to improve relations. The discovery of oil in the 1970s in the area made the South China Sea more valuable to claim. China invaded the Paracel Islands in 1974 when a victory by North Vietnam seemed likely during the Vietnam War. In 1988, China's partial invasion of the Spratly Islands from Vietnam and the Philippines solidified their control over the South Chinese Sea. We're going to take a look at the modern history of the conflict. The tension in the conflict has risen since the 2010s, and really quickly I want to take the time to define the Exclusive Economic Zone, or EEZ. It's a very important term. This is a zone that extends 200 nautical miles into the sea from a coast where a country has exclusive economic rights. And we'll see countries meddling in these areas all the time in this conflict. There's going to be, in the 2010s, the start of frequent clashes by rival navies with fishermen, where Chinese destroyers shoot at Philippine fishing vessels in 2011. Another vessel from Taiwan was attacked by the Philippines, and a fisherman died of gunfire in 2013. Indonesian President Joko Widodo in 2015 destroyed 41 vessels from neighboring rival countries that fished in what it claimed was Indonesian waters, near islands like Natuna. As of 2019, 556 ships had been destroyed, 312 of which were from Vietnam. Vietnam posted a legal document formally claiming the Spratly and Paracel Islands in June 2012. This law, quote, provides for the baseline, the internal waters, the territorial sea, the contiguous zone, the exclusive economic zone, the continental shelf islands, the Paracel and Spratly archipelagos, and other archipelagos under the sovereignty, sovereign rights, and jurisdiction of Vietnam. That quote was directly from the Vietnamese law of the sea. We'll also see the building of radars, runways, and the extension of islands and sand and other military fortifications throughout the early 2010s by countries that have control of these islands. Massive fishing fleets will be sent to other countries' EEZs to harass and take resources from each other. We'll see an example of China moving an oil rig into the Vietnamese EEZ in 2014, which sparked a ton of protests within Vietnam. and tension started to move towards Scarborough Shoal after the Philippines Coast Guard tried to arrest 8 Chinese fishing boats in April of 2012. Arrests were stopped by Chinese surveillance vessels, leading to the Scarborough Shoal standoff. Now we're going to take a look at the outside countries that are involved in the conflict. Most countries claim to be neutral in the South China Sea conflict. After the Scarborough Shoal standoff, the Philippines issued an arbitration to the International Criminal Court under the terms of the United Nations Convention on Laws of the Sea in 2013. The tribunal declared that China's 9-dash line was invalid in 2016. They also declared that China's meddling in the Philippine EEZ was unlawful. Major supporters of this decision include the United States, Japan, and Australia, while China rejected this ruling. We'll also see a little bit of the United States starting to get involved in this conflict, with China's Air Force claiming the airspace above the South China Sea, and the United States still frequently flies over there and rejects Chinese claims where they claim that the United States needs to warn and announce their presence in this area. The United States also has used 7 Freedom of Navigation operations, or FONOPs, since 2015 to challenge Chinese claims in the South China Sea by traveling through zones that require permission and notice from China. In the bottom right of the slide, you can actually see one of these Freedom of Navigation operations where a United States vessel will just go past an island which China claims needs permission, and it's pretty much just a standoff to flex that, hey, we can go here and we do not recognize your claims to be valid. Finally, we'll take a look at some of the issues with the South China Sea conflict today. The United States still exercises freedom of navigation operations in the South China Sea. The Philippines has had very close ties with the United States because of their Mutual Defense Treaty, which was created in 1951. And China created a new dash line called the 10-dash line as of 2023. This moved one of the dashes closer towards Malaysia, and it also added a 10th dash, which encompasses Taiwan. And there's also been a large amount of ship collisions between 2024 in present day. In June and August of 2024, collisions between the Philippine and Chinese ships have happened. More recently, in August 2025, which is actually the video I saw which made me get into this conflict, is the Chinese Navy and Coast Guard. They had a collision trying to deter a Philippine ship from heading towards Scarborough Shoal, and I highly recommend watching this video of this incident. As you can see here in the bottom right, you can see one of the Chinese boats trying to spray water at this Philippine fishing boat, which is recording the video, and the boats actually end up colliding. In the bottom right here is the damage seen on one of the ships. And with not many notable diplomatic options taken to resolve these crises, the situation in the South China Sea has gotten worse and worse. Here are my works cited. Thank you for watching my presentation. I hope this educated you.